Welcome to lesson number 2 of the PO program called PO Receding. I'm currently at the PO Center screen picking up where I left off from lesson number 1 on creating POs. So I currently have my vendor and PO displayed on the screen. Now before we actually get into receding, I did want to show you a couple little things might help you in using the PO program. First of all, when it comes to finding a PO number, as you may know, there's always a blue lookup button that lets you access a lookup screen. In this case, this is the purchase order lookup screen. And as you come in here, it's got the vendor account number in there, thinking that you might want to limit your search to POs by this vendor. But as you can see on the left side of the screen, you can set many different criteria for looking up vendors by a date range, POs for a certain job number, if you know a PO number, and even the different statuses of POs. So you have all these different lookups that you might want to use to find POs, and that way you can quickly get at them and continue on with what you're doing. I'm going to exit out of the PO lookup. Also, since we don't have time to get into every feature of the PO Center, I do want to point out a couple of things that you may want to look into. And the help system that you can access right here does have a write-up on every one of these different features, like creating an ad hoc material list. This is one of the utilities in the PO Center. This allows you to just create an ad hoc material list, and you can create different ad hoc material lists, but it allows you to, as you think about it, create a material list, put materials on it until you're ready to deal with that material list, like evaluating it or evaluating a PO material list through purchase orders. Like, for example, if you have a PO material list created and you want to see who's got the lowest price per item, or for the whole list, you can even evaluate it against cost codes or essentially price history, basically. So you have a lot of different features in here that you can use to take more advantage of getting the lowest price on the different items that you commonly purchase. Now, having done that, let's get into receding. And when I talk about receding, I talk about when you want to record the materials that you received from your supplier. And there's different schools of thought there, so I'm going to throw a couple things out at you, basically. A lot of companies feel that they have to wait till the supplier invoice before they can do any PO receding. So at that point, they want to do their receding as they're entering the AP invoice. That's fine, you can do that. It's perfectly normal. I've got nothing against that. However, many more people are finding that they want better control, they want job cost updated more real time than that. And so they want to use the packing slip as the vehicle for recording the items that they received from the supplier. So either way that you decide to do it, it's okay. You're going to end up in the same PO detail screen to do our receding. So that's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to click the Details button to get to all the detail on this PO. And as we spoke about in the first video on creating the PO, we've preset the destination of each of these items by using the type, the job number, even the page number, or the inventory code if this item was supposed to go to an inventory rather than to a job. And even within the same PO, we could have items going to many different destinations, a job, many different jobs even, and different inventories. So if you wanted to take advantage of, say, volume purchases, that's not a bad idea. I kept it simple on purpose, but you're not limited to how I showed it to you on the first video. So the idea here is that as you receive the items, they can be receded to their destinations, in this case to this job number. Now you can receipt either manually, or you can auto receipt your items by clicking this button. But before we do any receding, I do want to show you something really quickly that you want to look at, and that is the PO defaults. I'm going to click the defaults button on the toolbar and go over these PO receding options, because as you're probably learning, you can do many different tasks simultaneously as you're receding your options. And each user can control the receding options that they have here, and they can be changed between receding. So if you want to receipt one item one way and one item another way, you can control that by changing your receding options on your workstation. So the receding options allow you, again, to automate many different processes all at once. But depending on the receding that you're doing, in other words, receding to a job versus an inventory, some of these options will not be used. So they'll only be used when the environment is correct. In other words, when you're receding to the appropriate job or the inventory that would use these receding options. Just make sure you save your receding options if you do change them between receding functions. I'm going to exit, go over defaults, back to the main PO detail screen. So let me show you a couple things about receding. I'm going to manually receipt, and then I'm going to auto receipt. If I manually receipt, that means that I either didn't receive the full quantity or I wanted to change prices. So I have control over that. So, for example, this lot fixture price, I'm going to double click on that so that the record becomes displayed down in the edit fields down below. And when it comes to receding lot fixture packages, we're more interested in just the price of what we're receding rather than quantities, because a lot fixture package obviously encompasses many, many different items. So what I would do is every time you receive an invoice on the lot fixture package, or every time you want a receipt against it, I would have a receipt quantity of 1. You notice that by double clicking, Cobra automatically put me in the receding info part of the screen first. And so I can just concentrate on that part of the screen. So I'm going to receipt 1, and maybe I'll only receive $500 of what I ordered. So I'm just going to receipt the amount to the destination, in this case the job, and not worry about quantities. So my quantity in the end, my receiving quantity, can relate to how many times I was invoiced against it, or how many times I had to receipt against that. So when I do record a receipt, what happens is it updated the destination, be it the job, the inventory, whatever. It updated the PO with the receipted quantity and the receipted amount, and then I can continue on receipting individual items, or I can select a group of items by putting a check mark in them to auto receipt. And what I mean by auto receipting is that I don't need to change anything. I received the full quantity. I don't have to change prices. I just want to receipt them. So it's really a nice shortcut. I can auto receipt by clicking the auto receipt button. And keep in mind that at the same time that we're auto receipting, all those other defaults are happening as well. So if I had selected in my PO defaults to also update price book prices, that will happen. Price history is automatically happening every time you receipt a price book item. Okay, we're tracking the history of it, how many you bought, all of that, so that you have that available at your fingertips down the road. Look for that in your price book center under the price history tab. That's one place to find your price history, plus on the main PO center screen as well. Now, let's do this. Let's exit back to the PO Center screen. You can see that the receipted information is up to date for me based on what I did receipt. Okay, so you can see I haven't fully receipted it yet, so I don't want to close the PO out. If I had fully received everything, I could close the PO out by clicking the status button, which will change the status to closed. You can see it did that for me. Now, I don't really want to do that. I want to keep it open, but closed POs basically are deletable. So because the status really just tells Cobra how to treat the PO, it doesn't affect any accounting or anything, use these statuses to really work for you in your particular situation. By the way, as you'll see in the next video on the AP PO comparison, you can close a PO as you're entering your supplier invoice. So, now let's go back to the job as well. There's my job. And as I refresh it by bringing up the job number again, you can see some of the other information that is related to the job itself. You can see again that the committed PO dollars was reduced by how much I receded, and the PO dollars to the job was increased because now on the job itself in the material screen, or direct if that's where you posted it, we have those items, and you can see the PO number related to it. Exit back to Job Center again. I'll go into the POs tab, and I can see more generic information like how much I ordered, how much I received, and how much is remaining. And I can again preview that invoice. I can print lists of these POs and how much I've ordered, all that kind of stuff. Now, one thing I wanted to at least bring up to you, because a lot of people have asked me about the situation where you've received the materials on the job site, but you don't really want to update job cost yet because they have not been installed. Now, most people, as soon as they receive the items, they update the job, even though they haven't been installed yet, and then later on the job itself, they make adjustments as to what was actually installed, okay? I have an idea for you that you can look up in the job, or rather the help system called Job Inventory. Because this is a new idea that a lot of people are starting to work with. What a job inventory allows you to do is track the items. You ordered them for the job, you receipt them to a job inventory, and then as they are actually installed and posted to the job, then you can track all phases of that job and the materials that you ordered for that job. So if you want to look into that kind of idea, see if that would work for you, I encourage you to get into the help system, look up job inventory, kind of read through it, maybe do a tester job, see if that would work for you. It's a great idea. More and more people are getting into that. This ends the lesson on PO receding.